Welcome to LEWS Podcast and a really warm welcome to our deep dive today. We are exploring an incredibly influential book, one that's really shifted conversations around mental health and healing. It's Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. Just a profound piece of work. Our mission really is to unpack the most impactful insights from this groundbreaking text. We'll explore how trauma doesn't just live in our minds, it profoundly reshapes our very physiology. And maybe most importantly, we want to equip you with an understanding of some really innovative paths to healing, paths that go way beyond, the conventional approaches. This isn't just another book on the shelf. It's fundamental. It can change how you see suffering, how you see recovery for yourself, for others. Honestly, if you haven't read it yet, you really, really owe it to yourself to get your hands on a copy. It's essential.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what's so compelling, I think, is how van der Kolk manages to synthesize, over 30 years of clinical experience. And he blends that with cutting-edge neuroscience. He gives this truly holistic view of trauma. He argues very powerfully that trauma's imprint isn't just psychological. It becomes like a physical memory. He uses the phrase encoded in the viscera. And that can lead to things like autoimmune disorders or, persistent skeletal and muscular problems. For example, he details how chronic hypervigilance, that constant on-alert state, which is a direct physiological response to trauma, well, it doesn't just show up as anxiety. It can actually manifest as conditions like fibromyalgia or maybe irritable bowel syndrome. It directly links the body's sustained fight or flight mode to these seemingly unrelated physical issues. It's a remarkable connection he makes.
That is powerful. The body literally remembering. So, okay, let's unpack that a bit more. He mentioned he synthesizes decades of experience. Who is this person, Dr. van der Kolk, behind this synthesis? And what's the core idea, the sort of fundamental shift he's proposing that's, changed the game?
Right. Well, Dr. van der Kolk, he's a globally recognized psychiatrist, a leading trauma researcher, a real pioneer in the field for, decades now. His central argument, and he draws this meticulously from his own extensive experience, but also from breakthroughs in neuroscience, it's that trauma literally reshapes brain circuits. It changes hormone pathways, even entire bodily systems. It's not just about our thoughts or feelings, you see. It gets down to the fundamental wiring, the chemistry of our being. And that completely redefines how we understand trauma and, crucially, how we approach healing it. It shifts it from something seen as purely psychological into this undeniable realm of physiological reality. It really challenges decades of conventional thinking.
Okay, so if it literally rewires our brains, impacts our physiology, does that explain why someone might feel, stuck in a trauma response years later, like their nervous system is still living back in that moment? So it's not a choice then, it's biological.
Precisely. That's such a key point. It's not a moral failing, definitely not a sign of weakness. It's a physiological imprint. See, when trauma happens, it profoundly disrupts that core connection between the mind and the body. And this impacts several really crucial areas. It impairs emotional regulation, right? Makes it incredibly hard to manage feelings. It diminishes bodily awareness. People feel disconnected from their physical sensations, sometimes even numb. And critically, it interferes with memory processing. You get fragmented memories, maybe vivid flashbacks, instead of coherent story. This is exactly why traditional talk therapy, which is incredibly valuable in many cases, don't get me wrong, but it can sometimes fall short with deep trauma. Because the trauma isn't just held in the conscious verbal part of the mind, it's held deeper in a more primitive part of our being, the limbic system, the brainstem. And words alone can't always reach that place or fully resolve what's held there. The body holds the unspoken story. Literally, like at a cellular level.
That idea is just fascinating. Trauma held in a deeper, more primitive part of us. So if words alone can't always reach it, how does van der Kolk suggest we actually engage the body's own healing capacity, especially through neuroplasticity? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Yes, absolutely. He stresses that effective solutions must engage the body, not just the thinking mind. His approach really leverages the brain's inherent adaptability, its neuroplasticity. That's what makes recovery possible. So he explores and champions a really diverse range of body-focused and neuro-informed methods. For instance, there's neurofeedback that helps retrain brainwave patterns, teaching the brain to regulate itself better. Then you have mindfulness practices, cultivating that present moment awareness, bringing a sense of groundedness, of safety back into the body.
That makes sense. Bringing awareness back.
Exactly. And he also champions EMDR eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's a powerful therapy where bilateral stimulation, often eye movements, helps desensitize the brain's emotional centers and reprocess traumatic memories. It essentially helps move them from that reactive limbic system to the more rational prefrontal cortex, where they can be integrated.
And what about the more sort of physically active methods? I know he puts a lot of emphasis on movement.
Oh, absolutely. Movement is key. He highlights various forms but places a particular emphasis on yoga. Yoga, he explains, helps people regain a sense of mastery over their bodies and, crucially, cultivate interoception, that ability to actually feel what's happening inside. Beyond these, he dives into other innovative approaches too, things like drama therapy.
Drama therapy, how does that work?
Well, it uses role-playing, storytelling, ways to externalize and process internal conflicts, but in a safe, contained space. He also talks about the power of peer support, recognizing the profound healing that comes from shared experience, from community, and he even touches on more complex neurophysiology techniques, like specific brain imaging or targeted biofeedback to regulate brain activity. And yes, fascinatingly, he explores the innovative use of psychedelics in very carefully controlled clinical trials. He specifically mentions an MDMA plus therapy trial. It seems MDMA can temporarily reduce fear responses, allowing individuals to access and process traumatic memories with enhanced emotional insight and much less overwhelming distress. It's all about finding new ways to re-engage the body and brain to facilitate that processing.
One of the things that makes this book resonate so deeply, I think, beyond the pure science, is how he brings it all to life. How does he manage to weave together that abstract research with real-life human experiences to make these complex ideas feel so relatable?
He's a truly gifted storyteller in that regard. He artfully blends the rigorous science with really compelling real-life stories. You read about PTSD veterans grappling with the aftermath of war. You hear from abuse survivors navigating their healing path. You learn about drama-based healers using creative expression. These powerful anecdotes, they humanize the complex science. They make it not just understandable, but deeply felt, memorable. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, Kolk argues that trauma isn't just an individual problem. It's a pervasive public health crisis. He shows how it affects individuals, yes, but also whole populations in prisons, in schools, in war zones. Which really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? Why have our mainstream medical systems largely ignored this profound physical reality for so long?
Yeah, why has this critical aspect of suffering been so, well, underaddressed? That is a crucial question. And the scope of his argument feels massive. Now, the book has received huge attention, widely seen as a central reading. But, has a work this big faced any critiques? No groundbreaking work gets away totally unscathed, right? What's
Yeah.
the critical reception been like, the good and maybe the cautionary?
Right. Yeah, it's overwhelmingly seen as a pivotal text. Across psychology, mental health, it's huge. Time magazine, for instance, noted how it significantly shifted public awareness around childhood trauma, really brought it into the mainstream conversation like few other books have. And readers consistently praise the writing. It's lucid, accessible, and the really revealing science he presents. However, like any pioneering work, especially one covering so much ground, yes, it has faced some critiques. Some experts caution about maybe potential overgeneralization, suggesting perhaps not every physical ailment can be directly linked back to trauma in every single person. There's also been some discussion about maybe a perceived lack of large-scale controlled trials for certain specific therapies mentioned. Though, to be fair, he often highlights preliminary findings or clinical observations rather than making definitive efficacy claims for every single method he discusses. So it's important to understand that context, I think, while still absolutely appreciating the book's overall transformative impact and its pioneering exploration. It's a vast, evolving field he's mapping.
That balance is important, isn't it? Pioneering insight alongside careful critique. That's how science moves forward. So, after all this discussion, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've talked influence, insights, critiques. What are the core takeaways? Why should basically everyone consider picking up this book, regardless of their background?
That's a great question, because this book genuinely offers something invaluable for everyone, whether you personally identify with having experienced major trauma or not. Okay, so for survivors, it offers just profound validation. It makes it crystal clear that your experience, your trauma, isn't all in your head.
Hmm.
That the physical symptoms, the emotional roller coaster, that feeling of being stuck, they are real physiological responses. And that understanding, that can be the crucial first step where real recovery can actually begin.
That validation must be incredibly powerful.
Immensely. Then, for therapists and clinicians, this book is like a massive expansion pack for the treatment toolkit. It introduces and validates these vital, body-focused, and neuro-informed methods. Ways to address trauma at its roots, not just manage symptoms. It really challenges practitioners to think more holistically.
Expanding the possibilities for healing.
Exactly. And for educators and policymakers, it's a powerful call to action. It reframes trauma, not just a personal issue, but a societal one. It shows its pervasive impact schools, prisons, communities. It argues strongly for essential reforms, for trauma-informed approaches across all our systems.
Seeing the bigger picture.
Right. And finally, for general readers, honestly, for anyone seeking deeper self-awareness, a better understanding of the human condition, it empowers you with practical self-regulation tools, things you can actually use, like yoga, mindfulness, cultivating that crucial body awareness. This book isn't just theory. It gives you actionable steps for your own self-healing and for understanding the people around you with way more empathy and insight. It moves from insight to tangible practice.
The body keeps the score.
Hmm.
It's clearly so much more than just a book, isn't it? It feels like a cultural and scientific landmark. It's evidence-driven, yes, drawing on all that research and experience, but it's also just deeply empathetic. It bridges science and human storytelling so expertly.
It really does. It demands that we acknowledge trauma's profound, often hidden imprint on our physiology, and then importantly, it equips us. It gives us powerful tools to reconnect with ourselves, regulate our bodies, and ultimately to heal. So whether you're personally navigating healing or maybe caring for others who are, or teaching or advocating for change, or even just seeking deeper self-awareness, this book is a cornerstone resource. It empowers you to move forward with informed compassion.
It's actionable, it's life-affirming, and truly it has inspired a global cultural shift in how we understand and treat trauma. That's not an exaggeration. It's a New York Times bestseller, translated into, over 36 languages, and it remains foundational years after it first came out. This isn't just a book you read once and put away. It's wisdom you integrate. We simply cannot recommend it enough. You need to get this book.
Absolutely. Look, every one of us, in some way, carries the residue of difficult experiences, of trauma, whether we fully recognize it or not. The Body Keeps the Score teaches us how we can truly feel it, mind, body, and spirit, and how to approach others with that same deep understanding.
So our final thought for you, our listener, this book unpacks what it means to be fully human, our resilience, our vulnerability. It's a journey of profound discovery, and it's waiting for you. Get your copy, buy it, read it, feel it, heal it. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.